Hello and welcome to our today's webinar about the Fronius Smart Meter IP. I would like to welcome all of you to our today's webinar. The topic of today will be the Smart Meter IP. Therefore, myself, David Sandic, and my colleague Dominic Cormani will guide you through this topic in today's webinar. Of course, we would like to have a small feedback from your side. So what is your opinion on the Smart Meter IP? And therefore, you can feel free to ask questions in the chat. And then my colleague Dominic will try to answer them for you. Let's have a short look on today's agenda and what are we going to talk about. First of all, we will talk in general about the Fronius Smart Meter IP. We will have a look on all the technical data and all the informations that you need about the new device. Then, in the next step, I will switch to the installation and cabling. Therefore, we will go through the grid connection and, of course, the communication path via the Modbus RTU connection, as well as the LAN and the Wi-Fi connection. In the next step, we will jump to the current transformers, the CT V transformer. We will have there a look on the special things that you have to pay attention to when you're using the current transformer. Then, of course, in the next step, we will have a look on the solar web. So all about the troubleshooting. So, for example, the CT direction or the phase sequences and all of the problems that can be caused when the new smart meter is commissioned or installed not correctly. And then in the two last steps, we will go through, of course, the commissioning process of the new smart meter. And then the last step of today's webinar will be the factory reset and how you can do if you need an factory reset. The Fronius Smart Meter IP. And what was now the product motivation for us to come up with the Smart Meter IP? Of course, first of all, this should be placed in the commercial segment. So if you need a smart meter or a meter to cover large distances or obstacles, the Smart Meter IP is the perfect use case for that. And with this product, we would like to give commercial customers the possibility to use already existing Ethernet infrastructure to bridge the large distances with obstacles between the inverter and the feed-in point of your system. Of course, therefore, the target markets that we want to place this product will be all of the rest of world markets. The smart meter IP or the smart meter in general are always bidirectional energy meters for measuring the energy consumption of your PV system. So it is also for the analysis and the visualization of consumption data and is the absolute base for a complete monitoring in your Fronius solar web. It isn't bidirectional energy meter, as I already mentioned, so it is measuring the consumption data and it can differentiate between the self-consumption and, of course, on the other side, the grid consumption. And what is the smart meter in general or the smart meter IP now necessary for? Of course, for topics like a storage connection, an ohm pilot and watt pilot, as well as for feed-in limitations and, of course, for the load management too. On this slide, we have an overview of all the communications or communication options that the Smart Meter IP brings with it. So first of all, we have our communication via Modbus RTU, so via RS485. This is the common connection that we already had on our previous smart meters. And now on the other side, we added some new features on this smart meter. So the Modbus TCP communication via LAN is now also possible, and also the Wi-Fi, so the communication via a Wi-Fi system in Modbus TCP is also possible. An essential new part of the Smart Meter IP is also that we used Vago clamps, of course, for the easy installation. And this all together covers now all of our rest of world grid types. Regarding to some basic data about the Smart Meter IP, there is also a very important topic, and this is the compatibilities. Of course, our Smart Meter IP is compatible with our Primo and Sumo Gen 24 Plus, as well as with our Snap Inverter series. In case of the Snap Inverter series, we have only the option of the RS485, so the Modbus RTU communication. On the other hand side, the Fronius Tauro will be also maybe one of the biggest use cases of the Smart Meter IP, and the Watt Pilot, the Emil, and of course the On Pilot are also compatible with the Smart Meter IP. Let's switch to the next topic of today's webinar, and this is the installation and the cabling of the Smart Meter IP. Therefore, we prepared an overview slide with all the communication paths, and of course we have on our left side on this slide the feeding point with our 3 phases and the neutral, and on the right side always we are showing here the loads in your household. We see our CT transformers with the black and the white wiring, and with the 2 letters, so K and L. What these letters stand for and why they are important, we are going to talk about in the next slides. If we are looking on the Smart Meter IP now, we see on the bottom of it, so the communication of our 3-phase system. So we have the L1, the L2, and the L3, as well as our N communication after our fuses, and to know which fuses needs to be used in this case, please have a look on your national standards. This can be from country to country different. Therefore, as I already mentioned, we are using now the Vago clamps on the bottom of the device, and on the other side of the device we have our Vago clamps for the CT transformers and of course for our Modbus communication. Therefore, as already known, the known system of the cabling, so we have the orange and the white orange for the Modbus communication, so for M1 minus and M1 plus, and of course we always need a ground connection. Therefore, please use the wire with the color brown. And side information, but it is also very important, is that the ground has to be shielded minimally on one side, and the Cat5 cable and the twisted cable pair has to be used in this case. The last information about the cabling, of course, is our termination. So never forget to make this termination at the end of the installation process. Here we have now a detailed picture of the wiring and the cabling of the smart meter IP, and we have also a new feature that has to be considered in the installation process. This is the BIOS. Therefore, this is only important if you're using a battery system in your household. Then this BIOS contact needs to be switched on. Yeah, now I would like to jump to the communication part in detail to the LAN and to the Wi-Fi connection. So first of all, I would like to start with the LAN communication. So we recommend that you use, in this case, always an static IP address, and of course the Cat5 cable or higher. The cable needs to be a shielded twisted pair cable, and of course it has to be designed for the range of 300 to 600 volts output. Yeah, on the other side, as I already mentioned, we have the second new possibility of the communication path, and this is the communication and the connection via Wi-Fi. Therefore, again, we recommend you to use a static IP address, and of course you have to, let's call it like that, a sufficient Wi-Fi signal strength in your system or your household. And if this could cause a problem, so if you have low signal strength, we would for that recommend you to install a Wi-Fi repeater near to the smart meter. Yeah, I already mentioned for this smart meter IP, you have to use current transformers, in this case, and current transformer, so the CT V. What is now, or what are the most important informations to the Fronius current transformer? First of all, I would like to clear up some naming. So the CT V, the V at the end stands for the voltage output of the current transformer. So we need it on this smart meter, on the secondary side, an output voltage of 333 millivolts. The current transformers are available in the versions of 100 amps, 250 amps, and the biggest one with the 400 amps. Also on this slide, you can see the serial numbers of the three different devices. Yeah, and what are now the most important points and what should be considered when you are using the CTVs? So the current transformer must match the voltage phases. This means, so the current transformer, L1 for example, must measure the same phase that is monitored by the voltage input of the phase 1, so of L1. This is also, so this applies also to the other two phases, so for the L1 and the L3. Observe always the correct installation direction. Therefore, you should always have a look on the two letters that I already mentioned. So K has to be on the side where the grid is, and L always on the side where your loads are. Connect the current transformer to the phase to be measured and the cables from the transformer to the smart meter. So therefore, the switch off power supply, or you should always switch off the power supply before disconnecting the cables of your CTVs. And also a very important information is never switch on the primary if secondary is not connected to the smart meter. Or in some other cases, there can be the option when the secondary is short-circuited is also not a good variant. And the last one is when a load is connected. So never switch on the primary if a load is already connected. And the last point, a bit of an obvious point, is use only with the Fronius Smart Meter. Yeah, this was, I think, the most important, or these were the most important informations that we have about the Smart Meter IP for the cabling process. Now we want to have a look on the troubleshooting, and therefore we prepared a slide from an SolarWeb system where a mistake has been made. So what are now the most common or the most happening errors or problems with the new Smart Meter IP? Always first check the installation, direction, and the phase sequences through the energy flow. So in this case, or in the case that we have here in our graph on the right side, you can see that there was or there is a fault. So the L2 and the L3 are cabled and installed correctly. But on the other side, the first phase, so L1, is not installed correctly. This is why we have in the graph for the L1 phase a negative production. So this is a classic error, let's call it like that, that the CT V has been installed not correctly. So the letters K and L has maybe been turned around. So therefore we have a negative production in our SolarWeb. Yeah, and then there is one part missing for the Smart Meter IP, and this is the commissioning. This is a quite easy process. So we have here, or we are differentiating between the smartphone or tablet commissioning, and on the other side, if you're using a laptop. I would like to start with the smartphone and the tablet, so the mobile devices, let's call it like that. And therefore, you need to press or to hold the Wi-Fi button for 2 seconds. Then automatically the access point of the Smart Meter IP is going to be open. So after that, you need to scan the QR code that you can see on the front side of the Smart Meter IP. And then this will be connected automatically with your Smart Meter IP. Then you need to open the browser on your mobile device, type in the IP address, the already well-known one, so the 192.168.250, and in the end 0.181. Enter the UI, so the web UI password 1, 2, and 3. After you proceeded these 2 steps, follow the installation instruction, and of course finish them. Then the last step is the part on the inverter. So for example, on the Gen 24 Plus, open the web UI of the inverter, and of course add there the Smart Meter IP to the devices. And now regarding to the static commissioning, for example with an PC or an laptop, you have to hold again the Wi-Fi button for 2 seconds. Then the access point of the Smart Meter IP will be opened, connected to the access point. So therefore you have to look for the SSID Fronius _ Smart Meter and the serial number. And the password is also mentioned on the front desk of your cover, so on the Smart Meter IP itself. And then we have the already known process. Open the browser, type in the IP address, the The UI password is again 1, 2, and 3. And then follow the installation instructions and of course finish them. And in the last step, as we had it on the previous slide, switch to your inverter, to the web UI of the inverter, add the Smart Meter IP there, and then normally you should be finished and the Smart Meter IP is commissioned and connected to your Fronius inverter. Yeah, and now how does this connection or commissioning with your inverter looks like? The first step, again, you have to activate the access point on your inverter now. So by pressing the main button on the inverter, the access point will be activated. Then you have to connect to the web interface of the inverter. And then in the setup, you can add this device, so add a new smart meter. And then you have to select the type of the connection. So if your smart meter IP is connected via Modbus RTU, then you have to use the RTU button, or on the other side, the LAN or WLAN options are the TCP connections. So then you have, of course, to enter the IP address of the smart meter and only click on Add, and your smart meter IP is then connected to your Fronius inverter, for example, the Gen 24 Plus. Yeah, now we will come to the last point of our agenda, or to the last point of the webinar today, and that is the topic of the factory reset. So how can you reset your smart meter IP to the factory settings? First of all, you need to press the Wi-Fi symbol or the Wi-Fi button for 20 seconds, and then all the LEDs on the device will go out. The smart meter IP will reboot, and then all values are set to 0. And after all the values have been resetted or set to 0, the device has to be or must be configured newly. And then, of course, if you want to add the smart meter into a new system, you have to go through the whole commissioning process again, and then the smart meter can be used again. This was it for the smart meter IP. So this was the first information from our side to the smart meter IP. Of course, we will give you also the informations in the operating instructions. This will be, or this you can find on our homepage, of course. And on the other side, the knowledge transport via YouTube is also a big point. So this webinar will also be uploaded on YouTube. So if you need some informations again of the smart meter IP, therefore you can have a look on YouTube and watch the webinar again. And last but not least, the last slide of today's webinar is, of course, the informations that you can get from us. So we have all the operating and installation instructions on our homepage, or you can visit us, of course, in our present trainings in Wels. And as I already mentioned, a new channel for all the informations that we have for you are, for example, the how-to videos. Therefore, we will, of course, make to the smart meter IP also new videos and how-to videos. And, of course, all the webinar recordings that we are offering for you. I hope I could transport you some information to the smart meter IP, and I wish you a nice day and hopefully problemless installation of the smart meter IP. Goodbye and thank you.